Welcome to your e-learning course for driver's license renewal. This course is made up of 7 lessons that are critical to renew your driver's license. You need to complete each lesson and its corresponding quiz before proceeding to the next lesson. You may pause and return at any time throughout the e-learning course. Let's get started. Welcome to this lesson on managing your speed, where you will learn the dangers of speeding, the definition of the basic speed law, and how to drive in various road conditions. In California, you may never drive faster than is safe for the current road conditions. This is known as the basic speed law. Make sure you manage your speed and slow down when conditions call for it. Regardless of the posted speed limit, your speed should depend on the number of vehicles on the roadway, the speed of the other vehicles on the roadway, the road surface, whether it be smooth, rough, gravel, wet, dry, wide, or narrow, if there are bicyclists or pedestrians on or crossing the roadway, if the weather conditions include rain, fog, snow, wind, or dust. Speeding or driving faster than other traffic and posted speed limits does not save you time. The faster your speed, the less control you have of your vehicle. When you speed, you increase your chances of being in a collision. In a crash that's speeding related, you're more likely to be injured, and your injuries are more likely to be severe or fatal. Let's take a closer look at safe driving and controlling your speed. Maximum speed limits are posted on most roadways. These speed limits are not just recommended, but enforced. These are set for the type of roadway and traffic in each area. All speed limits are based on ideal driving conditions. Click on the location to learn more about the speed limit based on where you are driving. When you are ready to continue the lesson, select the button in the bottom right corner of the screen. To help keep you and others safe, it is important to remember that you must use your headlights 30 minutes after sunset until 30 minutes before sunrise, and dim your headlights to low beams within 500 feet of a vehicle coming toward you or within 300 feet of a vehicle you are following. Weather can affect the speed that is safe to drive, so you must drive slower when there is heavy traffic or bad weather. Rain, snow, fog, sun glare, and darkness can limit how far you can see and make the surface slippery, increasing your risk for collision. The faster your speed, the less control you have of your vehicle. Do not feel pressured to drive at the posted speed limit. Remember the basic speed law. You are responsible for adjusting your speed for road conditions or any other situation that could affect the safe operation of your vehicle. You never know what is on the other side of a steep hill or a sharp curve. If your view is blocked, assume there is a vehicle on the other side. Slow down so you can stop for hazards if you need to. Ice and packed snow on the roadway can cause your vehicle to skid. This is even more likely if you are driving too fast or going downhill in a curve. If a speed limit is not posted when approaching a curve, you will need to first judge how sharp the curve is, and then second, adjust your speed to safely continue. Now let's practice what you've learned with a few quiz questions. Select the titles located in the menu at the left of the screen if you would like to review any of the topics before beginning the end of section quiz. If you are ready, select the button in the bottom right corner of the screen. This lesson on turning and passing, where we will discuss the best way to use traffic lanes, make right and left turns, and how to safely pass other vehicles on the roadway. Let's look at how to choose a traffic lane. Traffic lanes are often referred to by number. The left is known as the number 1 lane. The lane to the right of the number 1 lane is called the number 2 lane, and so on. Use the left lane to pass or turn left. Use the right lane to enter or exit traffic. Let's practice picking the ideal traffic lane. Click and drag the red car on the left of the screen into the correct lane on the right. Once you have added the red car to the proper lane, select the button at the bottom of the screen to submit your response. Let's practice picking the ideal traffic lane. Click and drag the red car on the left of the screen into the correct lane on the right. Once you have added the red car to the proper lane, select the button at the bottom of the screen to submit your response. If you have to pass traffic, it is best to use the lane on your left. You must judge whether you have enough space to pass whenever you approach an oncoming vehicle, a hill or curve, an intersection, a road obstruction, or a bicyclist. Before you pass, look ahead for road conditions and traffic that could cause other vehicles to move into your lane. Only pass when it is safe to do so. Do not pass if you are approaching a hill or curve and cannot see if other traffic is approaching, within 100 feet of an intersection, bridge, tunnel, railroad crossing, or other area that may be hazardous. When you are going to pass on an open highway, plan to pass other vehicles on the left. Signal that you plan on passing. Look over your shoulder to check your blind spot. Drive into the passing lane. Speed up to pass the vehicle. Return to your original lane. Remember, never drive off the paved or main traveled part of the roadway to pass. Do not try to pass unless you know you have enough space to return to your lane. You may pass on the right only when an open highway clearly has 2 or more lanes going your direction. The driver ahead of you is turning left and you do not have to drive off the roadway to pass. Never pass on the left if the driver is signaling a left turn, or you are on a one-way street. If a vehicle is passing you or signals that they plan on passing you, allow the vehicle to pass. Maintain your lane position. Do not try to go faster to avoid being passed. Now we will move our attention to turning. Turning safely and smoothly is one of the most important driving skills you need to learn. Here are some tips for right turns and left turns. Left turn lanes are on the left side of the roadway. They may have left curving arrows painted on the pavement. They may be marked with overhead or roadside signs saying left turn only, or signs with arrows, or both. To make a left turn, drive close to the center divider or into the left turn lane. Start signaling 100 feet before the turn. Look over your left shoulder and reduce your speed. Stop behind the limit line. If there is no limit line, stop before you enter the crosswalk. If there is no crosswalk, stop before you enter the intersection. Look left, right, and then left again. Make the turn when safe. Remember, when you turn left, do not turn the steering wheel too soon and enter the lane of oncoming vehicles. This is known as cutting the corner. Right turn lanes are at the right side of the roadway. They may be marked by right curving arrows painted on the pavement. They may be marked by overhead or roadside signs saying right turn or right turn only, or signs with arrows, or both. To make a right turn, drive close to the right edge of the road. You may drive in the bike lane when within 200 feet of the turn. Check for bicyclists in your blind spot. Watch for pedestrians, bicyclists, or motorcyclists who may get between your vehicle and the curb. Begin signaling 100 feet before the turn. Look over your right shoulder and reduce your speed. Stop behind the limit line. If there is no limit line, stop before you enter the crosswalk. If there is no crosswalk, stop before you enter the intersection. Look both ways and turn when it is safe. Do not turn wide into another lane. Complete your turn in the right lane. Click on the buttons below for more information about turning right or left in specific situations. When you are ready to continue the lesson, select the button in the bottom right corner of the screen. Now let's practice what you've learned with a few quiz questions. Select the titles located in the menu at the left of the screen if you would like to review any of the topics before beginning the end of section quiz. If you are ready, Select the button in the bottom right corner of the screen. Welcome to this lesson on right-of-way rules, where we will discuss who goes first when driving around other vehicles, pedestrians, and bicycles. Right-of-way rules help you understand who is allowed to go first in situations where vehicles, pedestrians, and bicyclists meet on the road. The person who can go first has the right-of-way. Other vehicles and bicyclists must wait for the person who has the right-of-way. Never assume that other drivers will give you the right-of-way. Let's first discuss who has the right-of-way when sharing the roadway with a pedestrian. A pedestrian is any person who is on foot or a person traveling on something other than a vehicle or bicycle, including roller skates or a skateboard. It also includes a person with a disability using a tricycle, quadricycle, or wheelchair for transportation. There are separate rules for bicyclists. Pedestrians have the right-of-way, but they must also follow the rules of the road. When there is a pedestrian crossing a roadway with or without a crosswalk, you must use caution, slow your speed, or stop to allow the pedestrian to safely finish crossing. As a best practice, if a pedestrian makes eye contact with you, they are ready to cross the street. Yield the right-of-way to them, and make sure to allow enough time for pedestrians to cross the street. Click on the buttons below to view additional tips when driving around pedestrians. When you are ready to continue the lesson, select the button in the bottom right corner of the screen. A crosswalk is the part of the roadway set aside for pedestrians. Always use additional caution when near a crosswalk. They are often marked with white lines. School crossings may have yellow crosswalk lines. Not all crosswalks are marked. Pedestrians have the right-of-way in marked or unmarked crosswalks. If there is a stop line before the crosswalk, obey the stop line first. Some crosswalks have flashing lights. Whether or not the lights are flashing, look for pedestrians and be prepared to stop. Now let's look at the rules for right-of-way when at an intersection. An intersection is any place where one roadway meets another roadway. Here are some right-of-way rules at intersections. If there is no traffic control, such as a traffic signal light, stop sign, or yield sign, slow down and be ready to stop. Those already in the intersection have the right-of-way. At any intersections without stop or yield signs, the vehicle or bicycle that gets to the intersection first has right-of-way. If a vehicle or bicycle gets to the intersection at the same time as you, give right-of-way to the vehicle or bicycle on your right. At a T intersection without stop or yield signs, the traffic, bicyclists, and pedestrians on the roadway continuing to go straight have the right-of-way. At intersections where all corners have a stop sign, yield the right-of-way to any traffic already in the intersection, then to any traffic who arrived before you, and finally, yield to any traffic to your right if you arrived at the same time. Click to select who has the right-of-way in the scenario if you are driving the yellow vehicle. Click to select who has the right of way in the scenario if you are driving the yellow vehicle. Give the right of way to any approaching vehicle that is close enough to be dangerous when at an intersection turning right or left. Check for motorcyclists, bicyclists, and pedestrians. When turning right, check for pedestrians crossing the street and bicyclists riding next to you. When at an intersection that enters a divided highway or highway with several lanes, yield to traffic before entering and watch for vehicles coming in any lane you will cross or enter. If two vehicles meet on a steep, narrow roadway and neither vehicle can pass, the vehicle facing uphill has the right of way. The vehicle facing downhill has more control when backing up the hill. The vehicle facing downhill should back up until the vehicle going uphill can pass. Now let's practice what you've learned with a few quiz questions. Select the titles located in the menu at the left of the screen if you would like to review any of the topics before beginning the end of section quiz. If you are ready, select the button in the bottom right corner of the screen. Welcome to this lesson about alcohol and drugs, where we will discuss the restrictions for use and possession of alcohol or cannabis products while in your vehicle. We'll also discuss blood alcohol concentration limits and the consequences while driving under the influence. It is illegal to drive while under the influence of alcohol or any drug that affects your ability to drive safely. The law does not see a difference between illegal drugs and medications you get from a doctor or the pharmacy. They can all affect your ability to drive safely and react to what you see and hear. No matter what age you are, it is illegal to drive after drinking excessive amounts of alcohol in any form, taking any drug that affects your ability to drive. This includes prescription or over-the-counter medications, using any combination of alcohol or drugs that decreases your ability to drive safely. Remember, California's drunk driving laws also apply to drugs. The law is very strict about using alcohol or cannabis products. It is also strict about carrying them in your vehicle with you. It is illegal to drink any alcohol or to smoke or eat a cannabis product while you are driving. It is also illegal to drink or eat these things while you are riding as a passenger in a vehicle. If you are carrying any alcohol in your vehicle, the container must be full, sealed, and unopened. If it is opened, you must keep the alcohol in the trunk or a place where passengers do not sit. It is also illegal to keep an open container of alcohol in your glove box. It is illegal to carry an open container of cannabis or cannabis product when you are driving. Perhaps the single most dangerous driving practice is driving while under the influence of alcohol and/or drugs. Defensive driving techniques and knowledge of the rules of the road simply cannot compensate for the serious impairment of driving while under the influence. Impaired drivers endanger themselves and others, and they risk severe legal and financial consequences. Sober driving is among the most important factors of safe driving. When you drink alcohol, traces of it enter your bloodstream. Your blood alcohol concentration, or BAC, measures how much alcohol is present in your bloodstream. It is illegal for you to drive if you have a BAC of 0.08% or higher if you are over 21 years old, 0.01% or higher if you are under 21 years old, 0.04 or higher if you drive a vehicle that requires a commercial driver's license, or if you are driving a passenger for hire. Remember, these laws also apply to driving on the water. It is illegal to drink alcohol and/or take drugs when you are operating a boat, jet ski, water skis, aquaplane, or similar vessels. Even if your BAC is below legal limits, that does not mean that it is safe for you to drive. Almost everyone feels negative effects of alcohol, even at levels lower than the legal limit. Depending on how badly you are impaired, you may be convicted of a DUI even without a BAC measurement. This table shows BAC estimates based on how many drinks are consumed, gender, and body weight. Remember, even one drink can affect your ability to drive safely. Let's practice identifying the blood alcohol concentration for different people and body weights. Click to select the BAC that best matches the scenario described. California's administrative per se law requires immediate suspension of your driver's license if you are arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or both. When you drive in California, you consent to a breath, blood, or urine test if a law enforcement officer suspects you of driving under the influence. If you refuse to take a requested test, the DMV will suspend or revoke your driving privilege. Even if you change your mind later and decide to take the test, the DMV can still suspend your driving privilege. As of 2020, newly enacted law does not allow courts to delay, suspend, revoke, or restrict a license for someone convicted of a non-driving offense or offenses such as possession, purchase, sale, or transportation of cannabis. If you are suspected of being under the influence, a law enforcement officer may arrest you. If the officer suspects you have taken alcohol and drugs together, and you have already agreed to a preliminary alcohol screening test and/or breath test, you may still have to take a blood or urine test to detect the presence of drugs. If you get arrested, the officer may take your driver's license and give you a temporary driver's license for 30 days. If this happens, you may request a DMV administrative hearing within 10 days. If you drive with an illegal BAC, a law enforcement officer can charge you with driving under the influence, or DUI. When that happens, the DMV may take away your driving privilege and prevent you from driving. The court can also act against you. The penalty may include a fine, sending you to jail, or requiring you to complete a DUI program. If you get convicted of a DUI, the conviction is recorded on your driving record. The DMV can use this conviction to decide whether to suspend your driving privilege or take it away completely. Click on the buttons below to learn more about the additional laws for possessing and consuming alcohol if you are under 21 years old. When you are ready to continue the lesson, select the button in the bottom right corner of the screen. Now let's practice what you've learned with a few quiz questions. Select the titles located in the menu at the left of the screen if you would like to review any of the topics before beginning the end of section quiz. If you are ready, select the button in the bottom right corner of the screen. Welcome to this lesson on protecting yourself and your passengers, where we will discuss seatbelts, child restraint systems, airbags, and the danger of leaving children and pets unattended in your vehicle. The law requires you and your passengers to wear seatbelts. You can get a citation if you do not. If your passenger is under 16 years old, you can also get a citation if they are not wearing their seatbelt. Wearing the lap belt and shoulder harness of a seatbelt will increase your chance of survival in most types of collisions. When you are in a collision, your vehicle stops, but you keep moving at the same speed you were traveling. You only stop when you hit the dashboard or windshield. If you are struck from the side, the impact could push you back and forth across the seat. Seat belts and shoulder harnesses keep you in a better position to control the vehicle. They may also minimize serious injuries. Remember, it is important to wear the seatbelt correctly. Wear the shoulder harness across your shoulder and chest. There should be little, if any, slack, and adjust the lap belt so that it is snug and lies low across your hips. Otherwise, you might slide out of the belt in a crash. This could result in injury or death. You must secure children with either a federally approved child passenger restraint system or a safety belt. The requirements depend on the child's height and age. Click on the buttons of the various ages to see the different child restraint requirements. When you are ready to continue the lesson, select the button in the bottom right corner of the screen. Airbags are a valuable safety feature on many vehicles. They can help keep you safer than a seatbelt alone. It is best to ride at least 10 inches from the airbag cover, as long as you can do this and maintain full control of your vehicle. Passengers should also sit at least 10 inches away from the passenger side airbag. Remember, children seated next to a side airbag may be at risk of serious or fatal injury. It is illegal to leave a child who is 6 years old or younger unattended in a vehicle. A child may be left under the supervision of a person who is at least 12 years old. Remember, it is dangerous and illegal to leave children in a hot vehicle. The temperature inside a parked vehicle can rise rapidly when it is sitting in the sun. This is true even if a window is left slightly open. Too much exposure to heat can lead to dehydration, heat stroke, and death. If the outside temperature is 90 degrees, the inside temperature can get above 110 degrees in just 10 minutes. It is illegal to confine an animal in an unattended motor vehicle if the heat endangers the health or well-being of the animal. It is also unsafe and illegal to abandon an animal on the roadway. It is dangerous to the driver, the animal, and other drivers on the road. Let's compare the outdoor temperature to the temperature inside a vehicle. Click and drag the slider to adjust the outside temperature and see the potential temperature inside a vehicle in 10 minutes. When you are ready to continue the lesson, select the button in the bottom right corner of the screen. There may have been or will be times that you will need to carry a load with your vehicle. Do not drive a vehicle so loaded with property or people that you cannot control it. See ahead, or see to the sides of your vehicle. It is illegal to drive any vehicle with an unsecured load that is a safety hazard. Unsecured loads like ladders, buckets, and loose items in the back of pickup trucks can fall onto the roadway and be dangerous for other motorists, especially motorcyclists. Now let's practice what you've learned with a few quiz questions. Select the titles located in the menu at the left of the screen if you would like to review any of the topics before beginning the end of section quiz. If you are ready, select the button in the bottom right corner of the screen. Welcome to this lesson on law enforcement stops, where we will discuss what a driver should do and your rights during an enforcement stop. No one likes being pulled over by a law enforcement officer. During an enforcement stop, the officer's priorities are your safety, the safety of your passengers, and the officer's own personal safety. Failure to stop when instructed by a law enforcement officer can result in your arrest. Let's review a few simple rules to ensure your traffic stop is safe and over quickly. A law enforcement officer will signal you to pull over in several ways, including any number of colored lights, flashing lights, hand signals, or with a loudspeaker. As soon as you realize that you are being pulled over, acknowledge the officer's presence by turning on your right turn signal. An officer may think you have a reason to avoid stopping or that you are impaired. Turning on your right turn signal tells the officer that you know they are there. Once you have turned on your signal, follow the steps to safely change lanes and move your vehicle to the right shoulder of the roadway. The officer will guide you using their patrol vehicle. Do not move into or stop in the center median of a freeway or on the opposite side of a two-lane roadway. Pull your vehicle as far out of the path of traffic as possible. On a freeway, move completely and safely onto the right shoulder, even if you are in the carpool or HOV lane. Stop in a well-lit area when possible. When it is dark, look for locations that have more light, such as areas with street or freeway lights, near restaurants or service stations. The officer needs your full attention to communicate with you, so make sure you end any phone conversation and turn off your radio. Never step out of your vehicle unless the officer directs you to do so. Exiting your vehicle without first being directed by the officer can increase your risk of being hit by a passing vehicle. Roll your windows down after you have stopped your vehicle and before the officer makes contact with you. Both you and your passengers should place your hands in clear view, such as on the steering wheel or on top of your lap and in clear sight. Let's review your rights during the enforcement stop. If a law enforcement officer asks your permission to do something, you have a right to say no. However, if you say no and the officer says they are going to do it anyway, you do not have a right to interfere with their actions. The driver of a stopped vehicle must produce a driver's license, proof of insurance, and vehicle registration when stopped by law enforcement. If a driver does not produce these documents, the officer may conduct a limited search for them. The officer may also request the names or identification of passengers. Passengers can decline that request, but under some circumstances, the passengers may be required to identify themselves anyway. If passengers do not want to produce their identification, they should clearly say so. Passengers should not interfere with the officer's duties in conducting the traffic stop, and if the officer demands identification, passengers should not interfere with the officer's actions. During a traffic stop, the officer can legally require the driver and all passengers to exit or stay inside the vehicle. If you are told to exit the vehicle or stay inside, you must do so. In California, only federal law enforcement officers can ask you about your immigration status. California law prohibits state and local officers from asking drivers or passengers about their immigration status. If a California law enforcement officer asks you about your immigration status, you can decline to answer. In general, the First Amendment protects the rights of drivers and passengers to record interactions with police in public spaces. If you are recording, you should immediately make that clear. You do not have a right to interfere with the officer's lawful duties during the enforcement stop, and you should not reach into concealed areas to retrieve your recording device without the officer's permission. In general, you also have the right to deny a request to unlock a cellular phone or provide a password to it. If your recording is not interfering with the officer's ability to lawfully do their job, an officer cannot confiscate your recording device, delete the recording, or destroy the device just because you are using it to record. Finally, no government employee can retaliate against you just because you recorded something in public. Even if you believe your rights were violated, you should not engage in physical resistance or violence against the officer. If the officer does something that you believe violates your rights, you can voice your objection, but you should not physically resist. Everyone has the right to be safe during a traffic stop. Your safety and the officer's safety could be jeopardized if the situation escalates with physical resistance or violence. All members of the public have a right to file a complaint against any peace officer or law enforcement agency, and it is against the law for any government employee to retaliate against you for doing so. You can file a complaint with any agency that employs the officer. You have a right to be free from discrimination based on your actual or perceived race, sex, color, ethnicity, national origin, age, religion, gender identity or expression, sexual orientation, mental or physical disability, medical condition, or citizenship status. You also have other rights guaranteed by the United States and California constitutions, as well as California and federal laws. When you file a complaint, the agency that employs the officer must investigate the complaint. If you are stopped by a law enforcement officer and cited for a traffic violation, you sign the document as a promise to appear in traffic court. When you go to traffic court, you have a choice. You may plead guilty, not guilty, or you may pay the citation fine. It is up to you to make sure you appear on the future date indicated on the citation, or in some cases, you can plead guilty and pay the fine before the court date. If you do not keep your promise to appear in court, the failure to appear goes in your driver record and the DMV can suspend your driving privilege. Now let's practice what you've learned with a few quiz questions. Select the titles located in the menu at the left of the screen if you would like to review any of the topics before beginning the end of section quiz. If you are ready, select the button in the bottom right corner of the screen. Welcome to this lesson on signs, where we will discuss regulatory and warning signs. Regulatory signs tell you whether you should go, stop, or slow down. They tell you what direction you can go, which lane you can use, which lane you cannot use, and whether a turn is allowed. These signs are the law, and you must obey them. Let us take a look at a stop sign, which controls traffic at intersections. When you come upon a stop sign in the road, you must come to a complete stop before crossing the white limit line. A limit line is a wide, white line painted on the street. If there is no limit line, stop before entering the crosswalk. If there are no lines or crosswalks painted on the street, stop before entering the intersection. Check traffic in all directions before proceeding. Now let us look at a yield sign, which means you should slow down, be ready to stop if needed, and let others go first before you proceed. If you see a yield sign, approach the yield sign. Slow and prepare to stop. Look for others approaching. If you see any others approaching, let them go first. Look both ways again. Then you may proceed. White and red regulatory signs indicate specific directions that should be followed. The "Do Not Enter" and "Wrong Way" signs tell you not to enter streets, highway exits, or highway lanes against traffic. The "Wrong Way" sign will indicate you are going against traffic. This may be posted with a "Do Not Enter" sign. If you see one or both of these signs, drive to the side of the roadway and stop. When it is safe, back out or turn around. If you are driving at night, you will know you are going the wrong way if the reflectors shine red in your headlights. White regulatory signs will tell you rules such as the speed limit, and where you can or cannot stop, turn, park, or drive. Some signs have a red circle with a line through it. This symbol always indicates no. The picture inside the circle shows what you cannot do and may be shown with words. Let's practice identifying regulatory signs. Click and drag to match the definition on the left of the screen to the correct sign on the right. Once you have matched all the signs to their meaning, select the button at the bottom of the screen to submit your response. Warning signs are yellow and tell you of hazards ahead or conditions related to pedestrians. You will see this sign when approaching a railroad crossing and should proceed with caution. You must look, listen, slow down, and prepare to stop. Let any trains pass before you proceed. Never stop on the railroad tracks. If you are on the tracks, you risk injury or death. You will see this sign when you are near a school or driving in a school zone. While in a school zone, you will need to slow down, watch for children in the roadway, be ready to stop. If there is a crossing guard, obey their signals. There may also be special speed limit signs you must obey. Diamond-shaped warning signs warn you of specific road conditions and dangers ahead. Some examples are traffic signal ahead, crossroad, two-way traffic, slippery when wet, and more. Let's practice identifying warning signs. Click and drag to match the definition on the left of the screen to the correct sign on the right. Once you have matched all the signs to their meaning, select the button at the bottom of the screen to submit your response. Now let's practice what you've learned with a few quiz questions. Select the titles located in the menu at the left of the screen if you would like to review any of the topics before beginning the end of section quiz. If you are ready, select the button in the bottom right corner of the screen. Congratulations! You